Hey guys, so welcome to our high school. We're Kilachand High School, and we are a brand new school trying to tackle the inequalities in education today. And we call ourselves a new approach to education. The very first page here covers our goals. Cultural exploration, inclusivity, and diversity. And right next to it, you have our founding statement. We founded Kilachand High School out of a necessity for teaching what other schools will not. Our classes are constructed with the utmost care for inclusion, instructed by a team of diverse staff, and reviewed to improve yearly. Right underneath that, you have our philosophy, which touches upon the very first reading that we did in our ED 110 class. As written by Senso and D'Angelo in their 2017 book titled Power and Oppression, internalized oppression refers to internalizing and acting out the constant message that you are inferior to the dominant group and thus deserving of your lower position. This powerful and damaging mentality is often unintentionally created and enforced by society, a fact that KHS is trying to combat every day. By honoring the work accomplished by the unsung heroes of history and by allowing cultures to thrive in our studies, we hope to empower our students to aim higher and to live better. Essentially, what we're trying to say is that throughout our society, there's so many different ways in that people and minorities can feel oppressed. And when it happens so frequently, whether it be being left out of a curriculum, whether it be by not seeing themselves reflected in the education that they receive, they might start to internalize this oppression. And our school tries to tackle this fact by trying to diversify our curriculum, by trying to make everything so-called culturally relevant.
Yeah, and if you see here, we have what sets us apart as a school. Going back to one of the last activities we did in class, we have some of the things that we rank as like the highest things that we think that Kilachand High School should have, and that is a 1:7 teacher-student ratio, and so teachers and students can really form a bond on an individualized level, further helping students get the one-on-one attention they need. And on that same level, we also have one-on-one paraprofessionals available for students who may need them. That way paraprofessionals don't feel spread across classrooms and teachers don't feel like they're spreading them too thin. And students who do need paraprofessionals have that one-on-one option, allowing them to get an education as equitably as possible. We also have a full-time school nurse for all of our students' needs. And an average class size of 20 students. So none of the classrooms feel too congested and students feel that they can't express their opinions or ask for help. We also have free student parking and need-based free meals for students who may need them. And as you see here, we have our mission statement. Kilachand High School was designed to teach classes that reflect the diversity within our classroom. And we have specifically designed courses that we teach in order to inspire and motivate our students. And as you see here, for our educators at Kilachand High School, we support our teachers because not only do they know what is best for their classroom, they advocate for our students and work hard to make our school run. And without our teachers, we genuinely just wouldn't have Kilachand High School. And as shown by the reading of Kenny in 2010, a teacher's ability to inspire academic freedom is essentially to the education of their students. Not only does a teacher's unique experience require the support of the school to truly be successful, the school needs the unique experience of teachers to be truly successful. And this relationship is something that we really work at Kilachand High School and strive to stand alongside our educators and allow them to teach as they see fit. That way they themselves can contribute to the vibrant diversity of our classrooms. And if you see here, this is just our contact page.
From here, let's dive right into the very, very first subject that we teach, which is science. Now, when we first started approaching science, it was actually a bit of a challenge to think about how we can make science more culturally relevant. It is indeed a STEM class. There are indeed right answers and wrong answers in science, so it's definitely a little more challenging than some of the other liberal arts topics. However, what we did realize, as reflected on our mission statement, is that we can make science more culturally relevant by reflecting the accomplishments that so often are overlooked in typical science classes. As our mission statement says, most science courses currently focus on the contributions made in the Western Hemisphere and largely neglect to cover the work accomplished by other areas of the world. Most course materials maintains a focus on scientific contributions by members of Europe and the Americas and overlooks biological differences between Black, Indigenous people of color and Caucasian individuals. Our goal for Kilachand's science department is to expand the knowledge of students regarding the deep contributions people of color have made to science, whether it be the samples taken from Henrietta Lacks to the studies of anatomy from the Eastern Hemisphere. Our restructured department hopes to deepen cross-cultural understandings while still focusing on the tenets of scientific thinking. Essentially, what we're trying to accomplish is to reflect and to shed light on some of the unsung heroes of science, some of the people who just don't get the recognition that they necessarily deserve. throughout history. And so hopefully our students can see themselves reflected in the diversity that we teach.
And that really lends itself to the courses that we offer in the science department at Kiloton High School. Students have courses such as bio, chem, physics, and psychology, but also upper level courses such as forensic science, introductory neuroscience, and much more. This way students can really feel that they have the space to really expand their horizons and take classes that interest them and classes that they think that they might see themselves reflected in. And in this way that we allow our students to properly express themselves and learn more about things that they're interested in. And if you go down here, our department has restructured these courses in order to cover a more diverse range of scientists in varying fields and view how the subject has developed through contributions from a variety of different cultures and underrepresented groups in the modern scientific community. And in doing so, we have also moved to diversify the course content in order to ensure that there's more class time to recognize non-cisgendered queer people and Black, Indigenous people of color in science, and not just have the few key white contributors of science. And if you see here, we have a link to a sample lesson plan from one of our biology classes. And in this sample lesson plan, you can see that we kind of touch on the unsung heroes of science. You have Henrietta Lacks and many other women like her who have contributed to science so heavily and made such strides in their own fields. And in teaching about these women, we feel that we could show our students just how represented they are in science as well.
On a similar playing field with science is the study of mathematics, largely because it is, once again, a STEM field with a right answer and a wrong answer. A lot of it has to focus in on numerics and logic-based problems, but at the same time, we can also work in ways to be more culturally inclusive, because at the end of the day, what we want is to have our students see themselves in some way reflected in the education that they receive. So our mission statement for mathematics is, whether it be the example names used in math problems, the context of the math problems, or even the historical mathematicians themselves, minority populations are frequently overlooked. The math department wants to shift the current dynamic and allow students to see themselves reflected within the tasks that they are responsible for. Our hope is that students will be more encouraged and motivated if the tasks are made relevant to their lives.
And this lends itself again to the courses that we offer. We have the very standard algebra, geometry, trig, pre-calc classes at Kiloton High School, and like things like AP statistics, game theory for students who want to delve into that side of the field as well. And in order to consciously diversify the math department, which can be a bit tricky in comparison to other departments, the math department has made a number of changes to better represent our student body in the world they live in. A few of these changes include not only the active addition of diverse names along with the already Anglo-Saxon names present, but also changing the context of math problems to reflect the diversity of the classroom. We're also pushing for students to review significant mathematical contributions made by underrepresented groups and people. And if you see here, we have a sample math lesson from one of our Algebra 2 and Trigonometry classes. And we have just a really basic practice problem, but what we have here is that we, instead of just regular Anglo-Saxon names, we have like Ahmad is 15 years older than Ming, which allows some of our students to see themselves better represented in the classroom, even in the smallest of aspects. And then we also are pushing to teach our students more about notable mathematicians, in the way that they can see just people like first person to suggest that the earth revolves around the sun, and just things like that, in order to see that like the way that they can be represented in such fields that they feel is so right or wrong is just so much more broad than it seems. And going off of that, we also have our social studies department.
The social studies department is where we start having a little more freedom and range to make ourselves more culturally relevant, largely because here we can start reflecting on the different aspects of society and history that present the problems that we now face today. Our mission statement for social studies is, our social studies department covers human society through the years while focusing on civics, geography, and economics. Our hope for the department is to be more diverse and inclusive through both our education and our practices, because we find that too often the study of human history has frequently focused on the European actors on the global stage without proper recognition of other populations of people. As written by Kumashiro in 2015, in teaching social studies, we must ask ourselves, who is missing? So frequently, the story of our world is told by a select few about the select few. And at KHS, we hope to expand our knowledge and understanding of the subject by incorporating the stories that have rarely been told in other American classrooms. We want to make history personal. And once again, this talks about how we as a society and in typical schooling neglect to shed light and to give proper attention to the accomplishments of other cultures. And what we're able to do, not only shed light on other cultures, but in social studies, we can actually start telling other stories in history. So no longer are we only getting the Anglo-Saxon white perspective in history. We're starting to get minority perspectives, such as the immigrant arriving on Ellis Island, such as the Native American perspective. We're starting to see different aspects that are so vital to understanding the full picture.
And that really lends itself to the courses that we offer in the social studies department, which truly is just such a wide variety. We have world history, United States history, European history, US government and CompGov, and so much more, which just really allows students to just play the field of what kind of social studies courses they would like to take. And in our curriculum, we've made significant changes ranging from lending our students resources in order to learn more about demographics that more represent them and who are not often granted a voice, such as the immigrants who built this country, to extending a platform to minority voices and their perspectives on major political events like the African American community during the Civil Rights Movement. We've also shifted the curriculum to allow for people and cultures not of European origin to have a larger space in the classroom, which allows our students to learn about such a wide range of the world in a bit more in depth and outside of a Eurocentric perspective. And here we have a sample outline for one of our social studies department classes, here being a United States history outline. And United States history is essentially taken alongside 10th grade English. And here we've included texts that we plan to incorporate into the course. The first one being How the Other Half Lives, which would provide our students with a perspective not usually covered by typical classes. And it really shows the disparity between the immigrants and the working class and how they fared while the wealthy benefited from their labor, as well as A Letter from Birmingham Jail by Martin Luther King Jr. This historic document really shows the inner thoughts of Martin Luther King Jr., which allows students the opportunity to hear his pleas for equality. We are also planning on incorporating much more text to analyze events such as the Civil Rights Movement, centuries of slavery, the California Gold Rush, and much more, such as texts that show how African American culture has differed both prior to and following the Civil War, and how it's just mutated and evolved, and how the poor fared during the Great Depression in comparison to the rich, and texts that really just circle around the oppression of immigrants and the rise of the mafia.
So from here, we actually can start looking at other subjects like English as well. Like social studies, gives us a lot of free range to be more socially and culturally relevant to our students' lives. Our mission statement here is as written by Kumashiro 2015 in the book Against Common Sense. Any piece of literature can only include certain voices, experiences, and perspectives. Even readings that hope to incorporate different ideas are often told only by one source. Our hope for KHS is to overcome these fundamental limitations and expand our horizons by hearing storytellers from various different backgrounds. The KHS English department pushes to do so by ensuring that all of our courses offer students a proper variety of literature, increasing the inclusion of Black, Indigenous, people of color writers and their works during pivotal historical moments. So our idea here, once again, is to limit the possibility that our students only hear one story. There is a serious, serious danger of not getting the full picture when you only focus on the narrative pushed by one certain population. And for a very long time in the American education system, this one population was generally white men in power. And what we're trying to do now with the English class is to expand our horizons and start choosing other pieces of literature and texts that give a broader image.
Yeah, and in doing so, we offer courses that not only are just our standard 9 to 12th grade sequence, but also courses that allow students to take writing courses that are more specialized to their experiences, such as creative writing or writings about certain aspects of literature that they may enjoy. And below is a sample outline for one of our many English classes, this one being 10th grade English, which, as said before, is mostly taken in conjunction with United States history. And we've included a bunch of texts that we think are really important for 10th grade English, which really focuses on American literature. To really go hand in hand with United States history, one being Beloved by Toni Morrison, which gives students such a better understanding of the struggle enslaved people went through, especially those who escaped, and just the raw struggle of how they deal with putting back their past and their guilt in order to move on and all the sacrifices they've made. We've also want to include Frederick Douglass's autobiography, which displays the actions of the oppressive white population in the South regarding the prevention of education and how they explicitly would abuse and really just restrict education to the enslaved population in order to restrict their freedom. We also have chosen to include The Things They Carried, which showcases the horrors of the Vietnam War, both from soldiers' perspectives, but also it lends itself to showing students a bit of public perception and how these soldiers may have been affected by how protesters outside of their little bubble had been protesting the war back home. Also just novels like The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde and the short story No Name Woman by Maxine Hong Kingston, which really just both lend themselves to just the immigrant American experience and for first generation, second generation Americans and how they really feel the struggle between their two identities.
So from here, we obviously wouldn't be a complete school if we didn't talk about electives, which allow students to expand their own interests and to find new interests as well. The first way that we thought about being more culturally relevant is through the class home economics. Our mission statement says it all. In modern home ec classes, students are often taught things such as how to cook popular meals, personal finance tips, but unfortunately, the subjects learned about rarely reflect the diversity of our students because our goals for this course are to hopefully expand the curriculum to involve cultural and ethnic foods. We hope to establish through our lessons that students hail from a variety of different backgrounds and may require more individualized forms of lifestyle education. We want to take home economics and bring it directly to the students, bring the entire world and try to show them one slice of it through our home economics classes. In a similar way, through our philosophy classes, we believe that there is a serious amount of knowledge that can be gained just by understanding the most popular philosophies of a certain population of people. Generally, our philosophy classes cover the ideas of Greek philosophers, German philosophers, and generally just European philosophers. And we decided that if you can gain so much knowledge and insight about what a society holds important through their philosophy, then we should expand this curriculum to also include philosophies and ideas that give us an insight in cultures such as Asian philosophers, African philosophers, South American philosophers that really broaden our view of the entire world. In a similar manner, in classes like band, we celebrate so much through music. You can get to know a culture very, very well by the music that they listen to. And so frequently, once again, we listen to American composers. We play songs by Americans and European artists. So what we're hoping to do with band is to expand that once again and enjoy other cultures and learn more about them in such an active manner.
And here we have just our academic information. And if you scroll down, we just have all the graduation requirements for our students. And here it just goes into more specifics. Students for many of these departments may have credit from previous schoolings, except for English language arts and social studies. Students may also fulfill these requirements with AP or honors courses, but as you'll see here, we do have some specific departments such as mathematics and science where students must take a few courses from specific sequences.
And that brings us to our very last page, which is the contact us page, because we're always trying to expand on our own knowledge, expand our students' horizons, and trying to improve ourselves and our curriculum to be the best that we can be. Thank you so much for a wonderful semester. It's been an amazing time being in your class, and I hope you enjoyed our website, and we both hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful summer.
Thank you.